Hi everyone, I'm Bree Johnson of Heart and Bones Yoga, and we're going to do some really fun active variations of some of your more familiar static sitting yoga poses. So an active variation of a pose or an active stretch is a movement that doesn't require any external force to get you there. So what does that even mean, right? I'm going to show it as an example. So the opposite of an active stretch is a passive stretch, and that means a passive stretch means that we're using an external force to move a part of our body. Now, the example that I'll use is something like a half lotus. So a half lotus pose is, right, the foot goes up on the leg like so. Now, how I got my foot there was that I used my hand. So, and I think most of us do that, right? So we grab our hand to use and pull our leg up, and then hooray, we're in a half lotus. Now, let's try the active variation of that. The active variation means you have to use your leg to move your leg without the hands, without a strap, without somebody else. So let's try that together. Lifting your leg, and then are you able to get it there? And even if you are able to get your leg there, what was the experience of using your hand and then not using your hand? Probably very different, right? Super easy when I've got my hand here. Way more hard, like way harder, because now the muscles of my legs, different parts of my legs actually have to work to get my leg there instead of the hands doing the work of those muscles. So I hope that makes sense, right? So that's our active and passive stretches. So now we're going to do a couple static seated poses and add some movement and add some action, like some action for them, for your muscles to wake up. It's going to be lots of fun. So what you'll need is something to sit on. I'm a big fan of trying to sit up onto something because it just makes the work of your hip flexors a little bit easier, especially if you've got tighter hips. So I'm going to sit on a block, on a yoga block. You can sit on a blanket, you can sit on a towel, whatever you've got nearby. And then once you're sitting up onto your block, you're also going to need maybe a pair of socks. I've got two little face towels here. They're going to be my little sliders. So this means you actually don't even really need a yoga mat because your sticky yoga mat might get in the way here. Now the first variation, you're probably familiar with butterfly pose, right? So here's butterfly pose. We have the feet together, knees out to the side, and then sometimes it's accompanied with a forward bend. So this would be static because we're not moving anywhere, and it might have been passive because, and I just did it myself, I used my hands to get my feet in a little bit closer. So one way to activate that, even without anything else, is starting with your legs out in front of you, and then without using your hands, bring your feet together. Might be easy, might be hard, doesn't matter, it's fun to do. So there's the variation one for the active. Now we're going to add some movement to this. So I'm going to bring my feet onto my little cloths, and then we're going to try to sit up onto our sit bones as best we can. So you don't want to have that little slouch towards your tailbone position. Try to be up on your sit bones, which is why it's nice to be sitting onto something. And then I'm going to gently feel like my feet are pressing into each other as I start to slide them out. So now as we start to extend our legs, you're going to need to really reach and then rotate so that your legs are facing each other again. So now we've extended our legs. I'm going to externally rotate my legs first, and then slowly, gently, as I'm squeezing my heels into each other, I'm bringing my legs back into my body, and then again, squeeze, gently press my heels together as I extend out. Once the legs are extended, rotate back to normal. Start an external rotation and then bring your legs back. Now we're going to continue this for a couple more times. I highly recommend doing it nice and slow. The slower we go, the more your body, your nervous system, everything has to work. So we'll get even more benefits because we're not relying on momentum. We're relying on the full breadth of strength and mobility that we have in our hips. And so how's that feeling? Are your legs waking up in a way that you may not be used to? Hopefully. I'm going to do one more time. Good. All right. So that's beautiful work. If you could feel those muscles having to move your legs for you, so good. You're going to keep these little washcloths underneath your feet or whatever you're using for sliding. And then we'll bring our legs back out in front of us. Now, double check that you're nice and supported onto your block, sit bones nice and tall. And now we're going to go into a wide angled position, right? So this is our straddle position here. Now bring your legs slowly back together. If you like, you can bring your hands onto your pelvis as you do this so that you can feel your pelvis being relatively still, and then maybe even your hands at the top of your thighs and noticing how your legs move independent of your pelvis. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to move our legs without the pelvis. Move our legs without our hands, nice and slow. Good. Couple more times. Now, noticing as you do this, does one leg move a little bit differently than the other? Does one leg move before the other one a little bit? It's pretty common if so. Okay, let's go one more time. And then we'll finish with our legs wide apart. It's always helpful, again, while you're doing these movements, to notice what parts of you wake up when you do that movement. I was definitely noticing my outer thighs. You might notice something different. Doesn't matter. Just it's tuning into more layers of yourself as we explore these different movements. So now another variation that we can do is externally rotate your legs. In fact, let's do some internal and external rotation. So I'm bringing my thighs inwards, externally rotating back, in and back. Good. Now let's stay in that externally rotated position. You can keep your hands on your pelvis or keep your hands on the floor for that extra support if you need. And then in that externally rotated position, I'm going to bring one leg in. So back into that half butterfly. And then one leg out. Externally rotate. Slowly bring my one leg in. One leg out. And then we'll continue doing this at your own pace. It's nice to create a sense of resistance, and you can do that by pressing more firmly down through your heel, through the floor. Good. Excellent. Now we'll do that a few more times. Notice the work that it takes to do this when you don't use your hands to move your legs, but instead your legs moving your legs. Now let's see if we can do them at the same time from that wide position, going back into familiar butterfly, and then out and wide. Oops. And then bending, bringing the legs in. So nice. Good. Let's do that one more time. Beautiful. Now we'll just have a little bit more of playful movement. So this is going to be really good for your brain. I like to do a lot of opposite movements because our brains need to work a little bit more like that. So what I'm going to do is have, excuse me, one leg out, one leg in, and then just kind of circle and cross and see if they can. So you're crossing and then switching sides. Good. Notice how clean your floors are getting. Okay, now we were probably all going at a pretty good momentum here, right? I'm using momentum to help move my legs. So let's continue that same movement, but slow-mo. A little harder. Slow-mo. So good, everyone. Let's go one more time, nice and slow in between. As we go from side to side. Beautiful. Now let's release and bring our legs out in front of us. And after all of that active work, give a nice little shake, a little wiggle, and do a nice internal and external rotation of your legs. Beautiful. Now this is a good start, a good prep, a good warm up for a practice. If your legs are feeling awesome and now that there's another pose that your body wants to do, go ahead and continue moving in a way that feels fabulous for you. But for now, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to do an active pulling in of my legs back into a cross-legged position. And thank you so much for joining me for this active pose, this active playful variations. The sky's the limit, my friends. You can try this and apply these principles to many other yoga poses that you do. And believe me, your body will thank you for it. So again, I'm Bree Johnson. See you next time.